much. All right. So, welcome to our first Talk About It Tuesday. We got through that little hiccup, okay? And we are only going to be here for about 15 minutes. I want to go ahead and say thank you all for taking the time to join us for our first discussion. And we are talking about balancing technology with our elementary education children, balancing technology. I did a survey, and that was definitely a lot of the parents gave the same feedback regarding balancing technology with their children that are elementary age. So I want to tell you that you're not alone. You're not by yourself. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in since we had a little bit of hiccups. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. Nikita, you are our special guest, Nikita Porter. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you are a technology specialist. I know that you are a beautiful woman of God. Tell us about how are you able to give us that information about balancing technology? Tell us a little
Yes.
bit.
So my name's Nikita. Many people know me as Nikki. I've grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, and that's where I reside now with my two children. So I'm a mom of two elementary boys, one in second grade and one in fifth grade. I have taught in fourth and fifth grade classrooms for 14 years. And then I served as a coach, a technology and learning coach for 6 years in an elementary school. My passion is education, and then I have a knack for technology. So currently, I left the classroom in 2021, and now I serve as an elementary specialist, also known as an instructional designer for corporate America. And my role there is to create instructional videos and instructional materials for a company. So, one thing that I like to share with people is technology is so important, and these are soft skills and skills that many people like to say that they have, that they're good at technology. And technology is something that you can define that in many different ways. You can be, and many people don't realize this, but our younger generation, they often say, oh, they're young, that's why they know technology.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes they're really good at social media when it comes to technology, but it
Okay.
may not be that they have all the skills for technology. It depends on if they use technology as a tool.
So
And
there's a
so that's
difference between
something,
technology and social media.
yeah. So there's a difference between being comfortable with
Uh
technology
huh.
and then also knowing how to use it as a tool. And fortunately, I've had the pleasure of being able to experience both and observe both from a teacher's perspective and our students' perspective. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yes, and now you have two children. Is that correct?
Yes. I
Uh,
have a fifth grader and a second grader.
all
So
right.
one going on his way to middle school.
So we are going to jump right in this discussion. So one of the
Yes.
questions that the parents had was everything is going technology based right now. We have our homework that's technology based. We have, I know as a first grade teacher, educator myself, I even gave our children research assignments to take home to do. You have educational enrichment games for children to do on these devices. Where's the balance at? Where is the balance when it comes to everything, just about everything that we do with our children is technology based or that's surrounding the children because we're trying to get them. That's where our world is going. Our society is going more technology based. And where's the balance at with the children? The parents, when I did the survey, they said, how do we balance that? Everything is on iPads or computers that they have to do. How do we balance that?
Right. So one thing I would say is before getting your child a device, know that it will take work. And if you don't put in the work, it takes twice as much work to undo what the habits that they create. So it really does start young, but I don't want those who have passed that age group to feel like there's no hope in returning,
Mm-hmm.
because there are things that you can do to go in reverse. So one thing I like to, when I talk to parents of younger children, I like to tell them that if one is your child an avid reader, are they, can they pick up a book and it let that be their entertainment for a large block of time. If your child is not a fluent reader, is not one that says they enjoy reading or won't pick up a book for enjoyment without you telling them to, then technology is not your friend yet. Okay, and that means you have to, it can be your friend as long as you monitor it heavily. But first and foremost is they have to be an avid reader. They have to not be afraid to read, because what will happen is if they grow this dependence on technology, they will choose it every time, and it will hinder their ability to read fluently. So what I did was, with my children, when they got devices, I made sure it was a device that I can lock. It was a device that I could easily monitor. And then I made sure that the apps on the device only showed videos that were 30 minutes long. And I'm not going to say that you should buy these things or everything that I bought, but we happened to have used a Nabi Junior when they were little. And that was something that it was good for car rides, but it only showed 30-minute shows. So they would get frustrated because it would turn off, you know? And then I can put an alarm on it that they would come and notify me when it went off after they've watched or used their tablet for an hour. And that was just my rule of thumb that I came up with based on the amount of free time that we had after school. So that time frame will change depending on how much time you have. So if you get off at 5 o'clock and your kids go to bed at 9, look at that amount of time. You don't want the amount of time that your child's spending on a device to be more than time to talk to you, time to exercise, time to read and do their work, time to use a pencil. You want the technology to be the smallest bit of time in that chunk that they have with you.
Okay, so let me interject. So, for if you're just joining us, we are talking about balancing technology with elementary age children. We have our guest Nikita Porter, technology specialist and parent, that is on with us. So, Nikita, one of the things, I hear you, but when I was talking, now my children are grown adults with children. I'm a Gigi, guys, but one of the things that I have been hearing from the parents is, I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm a mother. I have a fifth grader, like sort of like yourself, and I have a first grader. I'm coming in from school, from practice. I have to cook dinner, but I also have a webinar that I have to jump on. How do you balance that?
Right. So
Right?
you have to have your tool. You have to have your toolbox ready. And so that toolbox is having things that are accessible to the students. A lot of teachers know this, that you have to have things low to the ground that they can easily get to and they won't interrupt your reach. And so I had a place in my garage, actually, and I had shelving in my garage, and at the bottom of the garage I had board games, all the games that my kids could play and wouldn't need my assistance with. Building blocks, the big ones, the big wood ones, I had those at the bottom drawer. And then I also had a shelf with Play-Doh. That's what it captivated my kids, was Play-Doh. And so,
Okay.
and I had a huge bucket that they could carry into the kitchen by themselves. I had a plastic table and chairs in the kitchen, and I didn't have to worry about Play-Doh getting stuck in the carpet. And they knew when they played with Play-Doh, they had to do it all there, clean up everything before they could step back into the carpet.
Okay.
And that prepared me for those last minute or those quick moments where I just need to get myself together. I could say, if it wasn't go get your homework or go read a book, it was pick something from your shelves, and you can do anything that's related to that. And then I'll let you know when we can do something else. And that kept them occupied. Anything with their hands. Those are the things that are usually restricted in school because it takes so much time to set up. They don't get to paint. They don't get to build. They don't get to use the Play-Doh unless it's in centers. And it's like a treat. If you can do that at home for a large block of time, they will use that block of time. And it'll fill that space up so that they're not always wanting to use the technology, especially if they need you by their side while they're reading. And so, and also lots of books. Just get lots and lots of books because they don't know what they like yet. And make sure that
Mm-hmm.
that's easily accessible. I love it when I go to someone's house and their young children have their own bookshelves and it's easy for them to grab. Have that available to them so it's their first choice. The technology needs to be hard to get to. It needs to be something that we have to work at, and always educational. And it can be, you don't get to watch a show until you're reading, and you
Mm-hmm.
want your kids to want to read before picking up the technology. Here's a test you can do in the car.
Okay.
If go on a quick trip, let's say
Mm-hmm.
you're going to Gigi's, right? And say, I forgot your tablet or I forgot your phone,
Mm-hmm.
and have books in the back seat. If the reaction is, oh, then that means they're dependent on the technology.
Oh, that is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. I see you, Latoya. Yes, Latoya said, she has to do better. But you know what? Okay, I want to recap what you just said because I
Mm-hmm.
remember as an educator, that was something that was always taught to teachers is to
Mm-hmm.
have something in your toolbox, in your
Mm-hmm.
toolkit ahead of time. So what
Right.
I hear you saying is as parents, because things are so different. I didn't have this to deal with my kids. But
Mm-hmm.
now with parents, what you're saying is have a list of things that your preteen can do along with your younger elementary
Mm-hmm.
age children can do that's not technology based when you're not monitoring it. Have a list of
Mm-hmm.
things that they can do already at hand. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yes. Have that Ziploc bag with all the crayons in it
Mm-hmm.
and everything easy for them to get. Even I had in my pantry, the bottom of my pantry, because I didn't like to bend down low, right? So
Uh-huh.
the bottom of my pantry even had their arts and crafts. So it was like the cheap coloring books that you can buy at the dollar store. I had them stacked up, all
Mm-hmm.
different kinds. So you can't tell me there's nothing for you to do. You've got washable markers, crayons, watercolors with the little Dixie cups with the for the
Uh-huh.
mouthwash.
Uh-huh.
I had them stacked all at the bottom, so they knew how to go to the bathroom and get a little bit of water for their paintbrush and set
Mm-hmm.
up in that table that I could just wipe off with a Clorox wipe. And I taught my kids how to clean up. Here's the Clorox wipe. This is how we're gonna clean it.
Mm-hmm. Right,
And so,
right.
that will keep them occupied for an hour, 2 hours, even if you have enough of
Okay.
the little things set up for them.
All right.
Technology is not bad though.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know that your children are avid readers and they can be entertained by books, you have opened up the gold mine. Now let's use technology as a tool, not to watch something. I want
Uh-huh.
you to create something for me. Can you draw me a picture on that tablet or on that
Uh-huh.
computer?
Mm-hmm.
Can you create a slideshow with all your favorite Disney princesses? Can you, my kids make slideshows of their favorite basketball players
Uh-huh.
and they love
Oh,
it.
so let me stop you. So you're giving them something to do on there rather than just them getting on there doing TikTok or whatever
Mm-hmm.
else. You're
Right.
giving them something that they like because they like basketball. You're
Right.
actually giving them something to do where they can go and create a
Mm-hmm.
slideshow about something that they enjoy doing. Is that correct?
Yes, you got to create a task. And our teachers do this all the time. When
Mm-hmm.
they pull out their computers, they have a task to do. We're using the computer to do something. My youngest loves to go on Google Earth. And
Mm-hmm.
he says, let me go find our house on Google Earth.
Wow.
Okay, now let me go find Mimi's house on Google Earth. What's the address? That's a great way to practice your address. And they're playing with it and they can't break the computer. That means they're comfortable with technology and they know that they use technology as a tool.
All right. So now you've told us a lot about the younger children.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my scenario. What about the fourth grader, the fifth grader that, and this is where we're going to get into integrity. This is our
Yes.
last point before we get off. And if you all have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. If you have any questions for Nikita, put them in the comments so that we can answer them. And even if you think about something when we get off, still put it in there, and we'll see it. She'll see it, and we can comment. But
Absolutely.
what about this? If we have a preteen, because that's different. It's
Yes.
easier to redirect the younger
Mm-hmm.
children. I know, but
Right.
like I said, my sweet spot was early childhood, first grade, but you put me in the fourth and fifth grade class, and ooh, that was a whole different ball game, okay?
Right.
So my question to you is, I have a fourth grader, fifth grader, preteen. I send them to school. They're raised in a Christian home. We have our rules, our guidelines, but they go to school and their other
And they're
children have,
exposed.
and their cell phones, and they're exposed to a lot of different things. Uh, and so my child now sees that, and then they come home. How do we teach them integrity, Nikita?
Right.
How do we teach them integrity?
Okay. So this is a big one. One, your kids will be curious, and you can't get upset with them for being curious. If anything, you can blame yourself if they're curious about something they didn't come to you, because that's the groundwork that you got to work at. So you have to create that in our home. When we're curious about something, you can always come to me. I'm not going to get upset with you, but I need to know when you're curious. When someone says something you don't know anything about it, you don't want to be embarrassed in front of your friends. So if you really want to know something, you can always come and ask me. So we talk in my house, we talk about honesty and trust early on, and that I will value your honesty more so than putting effort and energy into the mistake that you made. If you could just tell me the truth, right? That's before we get to integrity. And so my kids have a healthy fear of knowing that it's not okay to lie to mama, and to always be honest, and the consequence will be less. So that's what we teach. And then when you're talking about technology, something that anybody can Google is think before you post, because now we're talking social media, anything where you're skimming like YouTube or TikTok or all these social media platforms. Think before you post. You have to ask yourself, is it true? Is it helpful? T for true, H for helpful, I, is it inspiring, N, is it necessary, and K, is it kind?
Can you
And
repeat that? That was good. And this is
yes.
something that we can teach our children when you're looking with social media. Is that what you're saying? Okay. What is that
Yes.
acronym?
So before you type anything or add something to the internet, it's think. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind?
Very
Okay.
good.
And they can even use that when they're looking at things that interest them. Did this person post it because of any of these things? If so, it's something that can play with your mind. And so this is what I worry about especially my son who's going to middle school, because social media platforms, depending on how much you see, this is why you need these. I have some apps that parents can write down as well. You have to screen how long they're on these social media platforms if you allow it. Because I look, and if they say you can't get on TikTok till you're 13, my child's not going to get on it till they're 13. and then we have to talk before you do it. I need to tell you that looking at something all the time can trick your mind.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is there a psychological, or what is the connection? Is there a connection, should I say, not
Yes.
psychological, but is there a connection between the amount of time that the
Yes.
children spend on social media, or, and their well being? What is that connection?
Absolutely. I recommend that you ask your pediatrician what the healthy time is, because I don't know that for a fact. I haven't done that research. However, I know it's not good. I know that if they're looking at some happy faces and happy pictures all the time, in their mind they think that, oh, I'm supposed to be happy all the time. But we know that's not true. No one's going to post their hard moments on social media.
Right.
They only post the happy moments. And so then when your child has a moment that's not happy, they think something's wrong with them because no one's talking about those things. And so that hurts their mental, their social, emotional health and well-being. And so you don't want them spending so much time on social media that becomes their norm. They don't see kids like themselves on social media, then they start to think that they're less than. So you want to make sure that what they're seeing, like my kids love basketball. I don't want them to look at LeBron all the time, because you're not LeBron level right now. Go watch a kids game. Because I don't need you to compare yourself to LeBron because you're
Right.
not there yet. I want you to. We're rec center people, so we spend a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time at the rec center. It helps me because coming up with these activities is work.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing to help discipline myself is I sign my kids up for sports. So I have two
Mm.
kids, so that means I have two practices and two games a week. What else that
Wow.
time is for me? That time is exercise. I can walk the gym. I can open up my computer and do a podcast while I'm at the gym. I can walk laps around while they're practicing, or if you're at the soccer field, you can walk laps instead of sitting in the stands and eating. You can go get your exercise in, and it's not. Oh, I don't have time for that. Now you have
Mm.
time for practice and your workout. That's healthy for both of y'all, and your kids need to see that you value that as well.
This
But
is
I
so
know I got off
good.
topic. I'm
No, but
sorry.
this is so good. And the last thing is, I remember you telling me something in our conversation when we were talking about what
Mm-hmm.
we were going to be discussing about
Yeah.
the moving of the finger, that it's addictive. I had
Yes.
never heard that
Yes.
before. Have you
So
all heard that? I want to ask
yes.
our audience. Have you all ever heard that the moving of the finger, I guess the scrolling on so
Sliding, scrolling.
yes. Uh,
That it's addictive. Yeah. So if you just monitor yourself, if you adults, if you are looking at TikTok or Reels on
mhm.
Facebook, watch how long you can spend scrolling that finger. And look up at the clock and realize how much time you've spent on it. Or have you ever gone um, to do something that occupies your time and realize, oh, I spent too much time on that. So that little scrolling, those short reels, the reason why reels work and there's an algorithm that's created from reels, is because they know that everything that you spend a certain amount of time on, there's an algorithm embedded in that to show you more of it. Why? Because
Mm.
they want you to get addicted to the things that you see. It's funny how I can look at my husband reels and my reels and they look different because he spends more time on comedy, right? And so
Mhm.
everything that he little slides his finger is somebody playing a joke. My stuff might be more political and educational and things like that because the algorithm has figured me out. I spend more time watching these things,
And
and
it
it
is to
can be
draw you in.
addictive.
Yeah. And so if it's like that for us, imagine with our younger children who are having to face all
Exactly.
of these challenges. So
Right. And
listen,
they see it all the time. And same with beauty. When girls are looking at fashion, they see the same looking girl all the time. That messes with your mental because eventually
mm,
you want to look like that because that's what you see all the time. That's what you spend more time staring at. So it's you have to monitor it. And so there's some apps I have. If you look in your Google Play Store, there's one called Screen Time. There's one called Kids 360. You can go on there and adjust when it turns off, what apps turn off
mm,
at a certain time, how much time they're allowed to spend on TikTok for our older kids, of course,
right.
and YouTube. I got hit to this. I almost fell into the trap with YouTube. My kids found I added YouTube to my oldest tablet so he
Mm-hmm.
could use it. And I remember when there was this thing going around where something would pop up in the middle of kid videos to scare them and give them
Oh,
nightmares. And
wow.
that's when I was like, oh, I need to monitor that because I wasn't monitoring their YouTube. And so I
Wow.
started talking to my son about what he watched on YouTube. And luckily, it wasn't anything scary or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, it scares me enough to know I can't undo what you see. So
Wow. I can't
therefore,
undo
YouTube
what you
became a
see.
thing that they can't watch anymore. You can't watch YouTube because I don't know what will pop up next. And I didn't want him to develop that scrolling addiction of looking at
Mm-hmm.
these short videos. Because in real
Mm-hmm.
life, when you go to class, you're going to sit and watch a teacher talk to you for 10 minutes at least. The
Right.
videos are never 10 minutes. The
Right.
videos are 2 minutes.
Right.
So what happens is you have kids who they say have ADHD. Well, that's because the only thing they watch changes every couple seconds. There's a video
Mm.
and the screen changes every couple seconds, and they need that to pay attention. They spend
Wow.
most of their time watching digital videos and things like that. Then they're going to expect the teacher to be like that, and that's not reality.
Wow.
Can they sit for 10 minutes without a screen changing?
That is
Can
so
they
good.
read a book for 10 minutes and just turn and rely on turning the page?
That is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Nikita, thank you so much. Listen,
You're welcome.
our Lighted Up TV family, I hope that you all enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. Nikita, thank you so much for joining us on our very first Talk About It Tuesday. You gave some really good tips. I'm going to go back and listen to this because although my children are grown, I have grandchildren, and I want to make sure that I have these things and I can put some things in my toolkit in my toolbox when they get that age. So thank you so much for sharing. Remember, you all, if you have any questions, if you think of something afterwards, put it in the comments. We will be glad. I'm sure Nikita will be glad to look in and check the comments and see if there are any questions for her. If you want her to if you want to inbox Light It Up TV, if it's something that you wanted to ask her specifically, just inbox Light It Up. I will send that and make sure she gets that. That's it. I want to say this. We are going to do a drawing in March, and that drawing is based off what you will need to do is share the video, tag 3 people in the video, in the post whenever you share it, and go and like all of our 3 social media platforms, Facebook, Light It Up TV page, Instagram, and YouTube. When you do that, we will be able to see and tag us in it as well, so we can see it, and we will be giving away a $25 Target gift card and also Keys Teas. Now, listen, it's that time of year where these little bugs and little coughs, it's a coupon for you to get an order of Keys Teas if you win the drawing. So you have 2 things. 2 people can win, all right? So do that. That is it. Until next time, everyone, I thank you again for joining. Until next time, remember to light it up. Bye-bye.